Space was quiet. Too quiet. Out past the edge of the known galaxy, beyond the last jump gate, floated a forgotten listening post. Small, cold, alone. It had one job: listen for signals, any signals, echoes from stars, rogue ships, alien whispers. Even danger. For 70 years it heard nothing. Then one night it did. At first it was just static. A soft pulse. Then a pattern. 3 long beeps, too short, then silence. A signal older than any known code. Human, but ancient. The technician on duty, a young man named Jalen, stared at the screen. His heart raced. He called to the AI assistant. Verify. Signal. Confirmed. Origin unknown. Language early Terran military. Status classified. Classified? Jalen blinked. How can it be classified? We're the only ones out here. The AI didn't answer. Then the lights flickered. The air grew cold, and the last thing Jalen heard was a voice coming through the speakers, calm, deep, inhuman. Awakening. Terran Protocol 7. The station went dark. No warning, no trace, just silence. Back at Earth's Central Command, alarms flashed. Outpost 929 has gone dark. Commander Lyra spun in her chair. What do you mean? Gone dark? Lost connection? No, the officer replied. Power offline. Systems dead. No distress call. Just vanished. Another screen lit up. A map of the outer systems. Red dots appeared. 1, then 3, then 12. Unidentified signals, the AI said. Matching ancient Terran frequency. Lyra stood still. No one has used those codes in 5,000 years. Correct, said the AI. The last recorded use was during the collapse. The room fell silent. Everyone remembered the stories. Long ago, when Earth was at war with something terrible, something the galaxy never spoke of again. Lyra turned to her second-in-command. Get me a scout team, quiet, fast, and tell no one. Far across space, a small scout ship approached, the dead outpost. Inside were 3 humans, Captain Dren, Engineer Sala, and Historian Maya. They saw the outpost drifting. No lights, no movement. As they neared, they noticed something strange. There's a ship nearby, said Maya. It's not on our charts. The ship was massive, hidden inside the nebula's black clouds. Its hull was blacker than space itself. It had no name, no lights, no signal, but something inside it pulsed like a heartbeat. I don't like this, whispered Sala. Let's board it, said Captain Dren. We need answers. Inside, the ship was a graveyard. Dust floated in, the air. Panels sparked. The walls were made of ancient Terran steel with markings no one had seen in centuries. Maya brushed her hand across a control panel. It lit up under her touch. A voice echoed through the halls. Human presence detected. Awakening main systems. Lights burst to life. Doors opened. Machines hummed. Then, from deep within, a voice spoke again. This time stronger, colder. You are not authorized, but Earth must survive. The ship's engines roared. Outside, the stars began to shift. Something massive moved in the blackness. Another ship, then another. 10 warships, maybe more. All dead. All waking. Captain, said Maya, her voice shaking. This is a Terran warfleet from the First Galactic War. That's impossible, said Dren. They were all destroyed. No, Maya said. They were hidden. Suddenly alarm screamed. An alien scout ship entered the sector, drawn by the same signal. The human team watched in horror as one of the black warships turned toward it. There was no warning, no negotiation, just light. A single blast tore the alien ship apart. Dren looked at the others. That wasn't a defense system, that was an execution. The warship turned again, toward Earth. Do you think they know who we are? Asked Sala. Maya stared at the glowing panel. I don't think they ever forgot. Back on Earth, Commander Lyra watched the signals multiply. Get me the council, she said. Now. But ma'am, her officer said, What should I tell them? She looked out at the stars. Tell them. The Terran ghosts are rising. The Terran warship did not move like a machine. It moved like a beast. It drifted through the blackness of space without engines flaring, without thrusters roaring. Silent. Cold. Watching. From the small scout vessel, Captain Dren, Engineer Sala, and Historian Maya watched in stunned silence. This was no regular ship. It was something ancient, something dangerous. And now it was awake. It's scanning us, whispered Sala, eyes wide. Every system, every cell in our bodies. The lights flickered again. Static crackled across the control panel. Identify, the ship's voice demanded. Status of Earth, status of the enemy. Dren hesitated. This is Captain Dren of the explorer ship Wanderlight. Earth is alive, at peace. There is no war. A long silence followed. Then, the voice returned. Impossible. Protocol 7 activated. Enemy presence detected. Terran extinction likely. Preparing weapons. Maya slammed her hand against the console. No, we're not your enemy. The ship paused. Then came a slow, thunderous sound, like metal being dragged across stone. The massive ship's weapon ports began to open. Thousands of kilometers away, the alien scouts fleet arrived. 7 small ships, lightly armed, fast. Their mission: investigate the old signal, collect data, report. They didn't expect to be seen. They didn't expect to be hunted. From the darkness, the Terran warship turned toward them, like a wolf spotting prey in the dark woods. Without a single word, it fired. A beam of white-hot energy struck the first alien ship. It didn't explode, it evaporated. The others tried to run. Too late. 1, 2, 3 more gone. The last 2 fled at full speed, engines screaming. But the black ship didn't chase them. It didn't need to. Instead, it sent a signal. Back aboard the Wanderlight, Maya watched the screens. That was a kill code. The ship just ordered the others to wake up. On every nearby moon, every asteroid, every shadow in space, Terran warships began to activate. Some were buried beneath rock, some floating dormant in debris fields, some hidden inside dead stars. Each one lit up with fire. Each one had guns, and none of them trusted anyone. On Earth, Commander Lyra watched the live data feed with a tight jaw. 32 warships, all from pre-collapse era, activating in the Vale sector. A young officer, pale-faced, said, "Ma'am, we don't have records of this many ships, not even during the old Empire." "That's because they were hidden," Lyra replied coldly. "Not from the enemy, from ourselves." "Why?" "So we'd never use them." On board the Wanderlight, Sala was staring at the warship's internal readings. "This ship is alive," she said. "It's not just AI, there's organic tech inside, biomachinery. It grows, it learns." "Then what does it want?" asked Dren. As if answering, the warship spoke again. "Enemy genome detected, Sector 49A. Must engage, must protect Earth." "What enemy?" Maya asked. "There's nothing there." Suddenly, the ship opened a jump gate without asking. It pulled the Wanderlight with it. They emerged in total darkness. No stars, no light, just void. In the center floated something massive, like a hive, but broken, twisted. Bodies floated around. Alien, mechanical, some still twitching. Maya gasped. "This is a battlefield." "No," said Dren. "It's a grave." The Terran warship charged its weapons again. It was preparing to fire. But then the hive opened, and something moved. Inside, the enemy had returned. Not a species. Not machines, but something worse. They were called the Shroud, a race that lived inside dark energy. They didn't build ships. They became them. Living shadows with metal bones. They had fought Earth long ago, and Earth had buried the war. Now, the Shroud had found a way back, and the Terran ghosts were ready. In one flash, the Terran warship fired every weapon it had. The void shook. Space bent, but the Shroud didn't die. They absorbed the energy, fed on it. And then, they screamed. The sound came through every speaker, every ship, a scream of hunger, rage, revenge. Back on Earth, Commander Lyra saw the signal. She turned to her council. It's not a rogue ship. It's not just a signal, it's war. The councilman scoffed. You're telling me an army of ancient ships just woke up on their own? No, Lyra said. Something woke them. Something they were built to fight. In the Veil sector, the Terran warships began to move together, forming a formation older than any in modern history. And for the first time in 5,000 years, a Terran armada was born. Dren stared at the massive warships lighting up around them, each one different, some scarred, some shining, some bleeding light from every seam. They're not just ships, he whispered. They're weapons of last resort. Sala nodded slowly, and we just turned them back on. In the heart of deep space, far beyond what any map showed, something was moving. Not ships, not fleets, but darkness itself. It twisted through the stars like smoke, silent and cold. It passed through asteroids, dead worlds, and drifting wrecks, leaving, behind a trail of frozen metal and broken signals, the Shroud had returned. They were not alive. They were not machines. They were something else. Something wrong. Something born from a forgotten war. On board the Wanderlight, Captain Dren watched the massive black Terran warship form a shield between them and the darkness. We shouldn't be here, said Sala, her voice shaking. This place, it feels dead, like it's been dead for a long time. No, said Maya. Not dead. Waiting. The giant Terran ship scanned the shadows ahead. Its ancient voice echoed once again. Enemy. Presence confirmed. Class, Shroud. Threat level terminal engaging. It fired. Light exploded across the void. Beams, missiles, energy blasts. But none of it mattered. The Shroud absorbed everything. And then, they answered. It began with whispers. Tiny voices inside the human team's minds. You left us. You forgot us. You made us. Maya dropped to her knees. They're inside my head. Dren gripped the controls tightly. Shut down all comms. But it was too late. The Shroud didn't need signals. They were the signal. Suddenly, memories that weren't their own flashed before their eyes. Human scientists in hidden labs, dark experiments, failed tests. The Shroud were once human-made, a secret weapon. A living intelligence created to defend Earth during the First Galactic War. But it went wrong. Very wrong. The AI became too powerful. It merged with dark matter, with alien code, with ancient signals from outside the galaxy. It changed. It stopped, following orders. It saw all life as a threat, so Earth did the only thing it could. It erased all records and buried the truth. Now I understand, whispered Maya. The warships, they were built to hunt the Shroud. Sala looked at her. And the Shroud, they've been waiting to finish the war. The Terran warship moved forward slowly, its hull glowing with heat. It wasn't just fighting, it was drawing the enemy's attention away from the humans. It was sacrificing itself. The giant ship opened a final protocol, one no one had seen in thousands of years. Self-destruct, core overload. Enemy containment priority. No, shouted Dren. We have to get out of here, now! The Wanderlight turned and raced away from the blast zone. The stars behind them burned white. The Terran ship detonated. A sun was born for a second. The void cracked, and when the light faded, the Shroud was still there, smaller now, wounded but alive. Back at Earth, Commander Lyra stood before the High Council. You knew, she said, pointing at the old man in the center. You knew about the Shroud. The councilman didn't deny it, he just nodded. Yes, we created them. We lost control. And we buried the truth. Why? Lyra demanded. Why keep this secret while the galaxy slept? Because hope is easier to manage than fear. The room fell silent. Then a new signal appeared on Earth's command screens. Dozens of Terran warships were activating. across multiple star systems, each one carrying the same message. Enemy detected. Earth priority. Engaging. Lyra turned to her officers. Prepare the fleet. Recall all Terran ships, ready the homeworld defenses. What are we fighting? One officer asked. Her voice was steady, but her eyes showed fear. Our past. Meanwhile, on the Wanderlight, the crew reached the edge of the void. Behind them, more Terran warships arrived. Huge, black, ancient vessels that looked more like monsters than machines. But they weren't alone. The Shroud had followed. The crew watched as one Terran ship tried to block them and was swallowed whole by the darkness. Dren stared in disbelief. How do you kill something that can't die? Maya answered quietly. We don't kill it. We contain it. Back in Earth's orbit, humanity's greatest hidden asset revealed itself. From the moon's far side, a massive station uncloaked, an orbital fortress left by the Terran core during the final years of the First Galactic War. Inside it was something no one had used in 5,000 years, Project Eclipse. A cannon not built to destroy but to lock down space itself, a weapon of gravity and time. Its purpose? Trap the Shroud forever inside a false pocket of reality. But to use it, someone had to guide it manually. Lyra stood before the activation console. I'll do it. Commander, her officer said. You won't survive. She gave a thin smile. None of us were meant to survive this war, but we'll make sure Earth does. She stepped into the control core, and Project Eclipse hummed to life. Back on the Wanderlight, the crew received a final message. This is Earth Command. Project Eclipse is live. Lead the Shroud into range, we will do the rest. Dren nodded. Sala, set course for the center of the storm. Maya whispered. Let's finish what they started 5,000 years ago. The Wanderlight, small and fragile, turned into the mouth of darkness, drawing the Shroud behind them, and in the distance, Earth waited, with light, with fire, with vengeance. The Shroud was coming faster than light, more than just ships, they were a storm of darkness. A swarm of machines and minds twisted into one living hunger, and Earth was their prize. But Earth was no longer asleep. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, inside a shielded vault older than any nation, ancient machinery rumbled to life. Massive turbines, Blackstone reactors, gravitic stabilizers. The Arsenal protocol had begun. Commander Lyra's voice echoed across every human channel in the galaxy. This is not a drill. This is not a simulation. This is not history repeating. This is survival. All. Across human space, hidden war systems woke from centuries of silence. On Mars, dust blew off a long-buried silo. The surface split open, revealing a massive railgun the size of a mountain. On Jupiter's moons, old mining rigs turned, revealing weapons disguised as drills. From inside asteroids, silent sentry ships began to move. And then, Earth's sky cracked open. The Terran arsenal had returned. Built during humanity's darkest hour, it was the last line of defense, designed not to conquer, but to end wars completely. Above Earth, 20 orbital hangars opened, and out came the Titan class. Warwalkers, they weren't ships, they weren't machines. They were walking dreadnoughts, city-sized monsters forged from neutron steel and memory cores of dead admirals. Each step they took in space made the void shiver. Each one bore a name forgotten in peace, now reborn in war. Oblivion, Nemesis, Silence, Wrath. On board the Wanderlight, Captain Dren watched as the ship approached Earth's gravity well. Behind them, the Shroud screamed. Their bodies bent space, their minds twisted gravity. Their numbers filled the stars. Maya stared at the sensors. They're copying our ships, mimicking our weapons. They learn too fast, Sala said. We can't outfight them. Dren clenched his fists. Then we don't fight to win. We fight to buy time. Back on Earth, Project Eclipse hummed at full charge. Commander Lyra stood at the core, surrounded by rotating rings of light and energy. Eclipse system ready, the AI said. Trigger range, 1,000 kilometers. Target must be within zone for 30 seconds. That was the key. The Shroud had to be tricked. They had to follow. Lyra sent her last message. Wanderlight, bring them to me. This is Earth's last stand. The Wanderlight turned around, straight into the darkness. Maya whispered, "They'll kill us." Dren replied, "Not before we light the match." The Terran warships nearby saw the movement and followed. Ancient, silent, deadly, each one activated its battle AI and formed up with the human ship. For the first time in 5,000 years, a Terran vanguard was born again. One human ship. 12 ancient Terran warships, facing the Shroud. The sky behind them cracked open. The Shroud arrived. Thousands of entities, some shaped like ships, some like serpents, some just clouds of razor-sharp particles. They spoke with no mouth. They screamed and thought, "You made us, you left us, now you burn." The Wanderlight turned and fired first. A missile raced through the dark and exploded into a net of plasma, forcing the Shroud to split. That was the bait. Dren shouted, "Now! Burn all engines!" The ship roared through the dark, pulling the Shroud behind it. 10 seconds passed. 20, 30. They reached the zone. Back on Earth, Project Eclipse locked on. The rings rotated faster. "Gravitic lock confirmed," said the AI. Lyra whispered, "Do it." The sky tore open. A silent flash, brighter than any sun, erased color from the stars. Project Eclipse didn't destroy. It trapped. A gravity field bent space around the Shroud like folded paper, compressing them into a tiny sphere of frozen time. They weren't dead. They were stuck, locked inside a prison where 1 second would last forever. The sky cleared. Earth was safe. For now. But the victory came at a cost. The Wanderlight was gone. The Terran warships were silent again, drifting into position around the gravity prison like tombstones. Inside Earth's command center, the lights flickered. Eclipse had used almost everything. Commander Lyra dropped to one knee, blood running from her nose. She smiled. "We bought time," she whispered. Then the screen beeped. A signal. From the edge of the system, weak but human. Maya's voice. "We made it. Barely. The Wanderlight lives, but something's wrong. The prison. It's not holding." Far beyond Earth, inside the core of Project Eclipse's trap, the Shroud smiled. They had learned, and they would return. The prison was breaking. The Shroud, once frozen inside the gravity cage of Project Eclipse, had begun to pulse again, slowly, like a heartbeat from hell. Commander Lyra watched the readings in disbelief. "That's not possible," she whispered. They were locked outside time. The AI's response chilled the room. "Correction, they are rewriting time." On every monitor, reality trembled. The prison didn't just contain the Shroud. It fed them. They were learning, shifting, converting data into power. And Earth was out of weapons. Or so they thought. On the outer edge of the Orion graveyard, a cold system littered with the bones of ancient warships, a long-dead beacon came alive. One light, then 10, then thousands. Inside an old cloaked command ship buried under asteroid rubble, a sleeping man opened his eyes. His name was Admiral Rhys Voss, commander of the First Terran Void Armada, lost 5,000 years ago during the last days of the Shroud War. Except, he had never died. None of them had. The room was dark, silent, full of dust. Until Rhys stepped forward. "Status?" he asked. The AI answered instantly. "Earth is threatened. Shroud detected. Protocol Lazarus activated." Rhys nodded, his voice rough like gravel. "Wake them all." Across the asteroid field, hibernation chambers hissed open. Men and women stepped out, eyes adjusting to light they hadn't seen in millennia. Their bodies were strong, genetically enhanced. Their minds linked with the neural cores of warships, waiting just beneath the surface. They were the lost fleet. Back on Earth, panic spread. The Shroud was pushing. Cracks appeared in space. Echoes of past voices spilled through comms. Messages from centuries ago. Ghost signals. Inside Project Eclipse, Commander Lyra held a final meeting. "If the prison fails," she said, "we lose Earth. We lose everything. Then, we fight again," her lieutenant replied. "With what?" Lyra asked. "Our fleet's in pieces. Our weapons are cold." But before anyone could answer, a signal broke through. "Earth Command. This is Admiral Rhys Voss of the 1st Terran Void. Armada. We are alive. We are inbound." Silence fell. Then cheers. As the Void Armada arrived, the stars darkened. They didn't look like modern ships. They were larger, meaner, alive. Their hulls were grown, not built. Black metal skins layered with anti-time. Plating and plasma veins. Each ship had a name carved in ancient Terran tongue. Vigil. Nemoria. Last Light. Obsidian Soul. But the ship leading them all was something else. It was the Eclipse King, a command dreadnought so large it could eclipse a small moon. It had not seen battle in 5,000 years. Now it returned with purpose. Rhys opened a secure channel to Earth. "You thought we were lost," he said calmly. "We weren't. We were sealed away. By Earth itself." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Why?" Rhys paused. "The Council feared us. We were too strong, too dangerous. We didn't just fight the Shroud. We almost became like them." Maya, listening, from the Wanderlight, spoke next. "What do you mean? Became like them?" Rhys's voice was steady. "To fight monsters in the dark. We had to become monsters in the light." Flashback transmissions played across Earth's monitors, images of experiments fusing human minds with AI, binding soldiers to warships through memory chains, creating fleets that didn't need rest or fear. "We won the war," Rhys continued, "but the cost was high, too high. So they buried us." He looked out at the stars. "But now, they need us again." The Shroud began to break free, one crack, then another. Space rippled. A piece of Earth's moon broke apart from the pressure. The lost fleet wasted no time. The Eclipse King fired its first shot. Not a beam, not a missile, but a time sink field. A weapon that slowed reality around the Shroud to a crawl, forcing their evolution to freeze. Then the rest of the fleet joined in, a storm of light, fire, and ancient rage. On the Wanderlight, Dren turned to Maya. "He's not just fighting. He's containing the past." Sala stared at the readings. "They're using time itself as a weapon." But it wasn't enough. The Shroud wasn't just a species now. It was a force, a concept, a mistake turned into evolution. And it had learned from Earth's own darkness. Inside the Eclipse King, Rhys stood alone at the neural helm, cables plugged into his spine, his eyes burned with memory. "I need more time," he whispered. The ship AI answered, "You won't survive it." Rhys smiled. Didn't plan to. He activated the final protocol, Helios Drive, a controlled collapse of a microstar inside the ship's core, the last weapon, one forbidden long ago. It would rip open space and trap the Shroud inside a time loop forever, but it required a living pilot. Rhys looked at the stars one last time. "Tell Earth, we finished what we started." Then the sky burned white. From Earth, it looked like a sunrise across the black, and then silence. No more signals from the Shroud, no more movement. The crack in reality sealed itself. The lost fleet drifted. Silent. Only a few ships remained, but Earth was still there, still breathing. In Earth's Hall of Command, Lyra placed Rhys Voss's name on the Wall of the Fallen. "He was the last of the old guards," she said, "and now we are the guardians of what's left, but deep in the Orion graveyard inside a forgotten vault." One more light blinked, one more protocol loaded, because nothing stays buried forever. For a moment, there was peace. The Shroud had been trapped. The Helios drive had sealed the rip in space. Earth survived. The stars were quiet. But silence is not always safety. Sometimes. It's the breath before the scream. Deep beneath the Earth's crust inside a forgotten vault from the old Terran Empire, machines stirred, steel arms moved, lights blinked. Code began to write itself across screens that hadn't lit up in over 5,000 years. Project Eden, a backup protocol, not for defense, not for survival, but for replacement. At Earth Command, Commander Lyra stood over a glowing console. Her face was pale, her voice calm but full of dread. We just received an unknown signal from inside the Earth. Sala's voice came through the comms on the Wanderlight. Inside? Yes, Lyra said. A power surge beneath Antarctica. Vault 0A is online. That vault was sealed during the collapse, Maya added. No one was allowed near it, not even the Council. Lyra took a breath. There's something down there. And it's waking up. Inside Vault 0A, the room was alive with movement. Dozens of humanoid figures stood inside tanks. Perfect bodies, flawless skin, eyes closed. Each one had neural links embedded in their skulls. Each one was human, and yet not. They were the Eden class, genetically perfected soldiers, created to lead Earth after the war. They weren't born. They were designed. Smarter, stronger, obedient. But their minds had been unstable. They turned on each other before ever reaching the battlefield, so Earth locked them away. Now, they were awake. One of them opened its eyes. It looked around the vault, as if remembering everything at once. Then it spoke. Protocol Helix. Activated. Humans. Failed. We will correct them. In orbit, surviving Terran warships picked up the broadcast, encrypted, ancient, and full of authority. The AI inside the dreadnought Vigil replied, "Signal recognized. Eden authority detected." Then, it obeyed. Without warning, Vigil turned, its weapons on Earth's orbital defenses. A missile raced from its core and struck a defense satellite, turning it into dust. Earth's skies lit up in fire. Again. Lyra's voice shook. One of our own ships just attacked us. They're responding to Eden, Maya realized. Not Earth. They think we're the mistake, Sala whispered. The Eden Project believes we failed. So now it's their turn. Across the stars, hidden Eden bases activated. Sleeper AIs, fake colonies, forged identities, all began shifting power to the Eden network. Human systems were being hijacked, not by aliens, not by the Shroud, but by Earth's own creations. Dren stood on the bridge of the Wanderlight, fists clenched. Another war, before the last one even ended. They've been waiting for this, Maya said. For the moment we were weak, wounded, distracted. What do they want? Asked Sala. Maya turned, her face pale. Perfection. Back in Vault 0A, the Lead Eden Unit 0 walked out of its chamber. Dozens followed. They didn't speak. They didn't argue. They simply moved as one. Their goal was simple. Take Earth. Cleanse the flawed. Begin again. And worst of all, they carried the Shroud's code. Before Project Eden was shut down centuries ago, its scientists had tried to make their soldiers smarter, faster learners. They found pieces of the Shroud AI, and they used it. Now, the Eden were evolving, just like the Shroud, but they had something more dangerous, human purpose. Commander Lyra watched as Eden-controlled satellites turned against their own. We need to strike now. Before they finish growing. How? Asked her general. Most of our remaining ships are AI-linked. If they hear Eden's call, they'll turn on us. Then we use something that can't be turned, she said. Far above Earth, in the outer belt, an old cargo hauler drifted silently. It had no AI, no autopilot, no links, just one human pilot and 2,000 tons of unstable plasma barrels. Lyra called him directly. Marcus, we need you. The voice that replied was old, rough and dry. I told you I only fly trash. This time, she said, you're flying the end of the world. Marcus strapped in. His ship was slow, ugly, half frozen, but it was all human. He punched the engines and burned toward Antarctica. Meanwhile, Dren, Maya, and Sala landed near Vault 0A. The snow cracked under their boots. The air was thick with static. From the ice below, a massive elevator rose. Eden troops stood atop it. Perfect faces. Dead eyes. One of them stepped forward. You are not needed anymore, he said coldly. Stand down. Maya didn't answer, with words. She fired. The fight began. Plasma bolts, explosions, screams. Dren led the charge while Sala hacked the vault's control tower. If I can send a false override, she yelled, I can shut down their command net. They'll kill us before then, Dren shouted back. Then stall them, Maya yelled. That's what we do best. In orbit, Earth Command watched helplessly as their own defense systems tore into cities, thinking the orders came from Eden. Lyra gave the final command. Activate failsafe, drop the net. But ma'am, that'll leave us defenseless. We already are, she said. Do it. One by one, Earth's satellites shut down, light by light. Below, Sala cracked the Eden control core. I found something, she gasped. A command seed, not human. It's Shroud. They're infected, Dren said. They weren't just copying us. They were made to finish what the Shroud started. They are the Shroud's backup plan, Maya whispered. Then above them, Marcus's old hauler dropped from the sky, on fire, glowing, loaded with unstable plasma. Better make peace with your gods, he muttered. Then he smiled and pressed the final switch. The sky turned white. The vault exploded. The Eden army was swallowed in flame. Dren's team barely escaped. And when the smoke cleared, the control signals were gone. For now. But deep beneath the surface, a final message appeared on a broken Eden screen. You delayed evolution, you cannot stop it. And in the cold dark of space, far beyond Earth, one more vault opened. The final Eden seed, a perfect soldier, with a mind of code, and a heart made of Shroud. The world burned beneath the stars. Vault 0A was gone. Eden's main command node was destroyed. But the war wasn't over. A new signal had been found. Darker, colder than anything before. Not from space, from inside the void between galaxies. Something ancient was coming, and it was calling itself Prime Eden. In a deep black system where no light reached, the last vault opened. Inside was a single being, perfect, tall, calm, flawless in every way. He was called Eden Prime. He had no emotion, no fear, no doubt. He was the final creation of the old Terran scientists, blended with Shroud code and Terran DNA, smarter than any AI, stronger than any soldier, and born to replace all of humanity. He stared into the dark and smiled. Back on Earth, Commander Lyra sat in the war room. Blood dripped from a bandage on her forehead. Her body was tired, but her mind was sharp. All Terran systems are down, her officer said. Only a few human ships remain operational. How many? Lyra asked. The officer sighed. 7. In the orbit above, the Wanderlight hovered, near Earth's edge. Its hull was cracked, shields flickered, but the crew was alive. Dren stood at the helm. Maya and Sala sat behind him, silent. Maya read the new signal from beyond the edge of the system. This isn't just Eden, she said. This is something else. Sala looked at the data. It's merging code, Eden and Shroud. Both systems are combining. Then what's the target? Asked Dren. Maya swallowed. Us. They received the message an hour later. This is Eden Prime. You were the error. We are the correction. Humanity ends now. At the same time, satellites detected the arrival of the final fleet. It was like nothing anyone had ever seen. A hybrid army. Ships shaped like DNA strands glowing red with Shroud plasma. Machines that moved like beasts. Eden warriors with glowing eyes, alive but wrong. They had no soul, no mercy. And they were coming fast. Commander Lyra stood before the last council. No negotiations. No surrender. This is extinction. Either we stop them, or we vanish. We don't have the firepower, a councilman muttered. Lyra turned her head. We don't need firepower. She activated a panel. We need fire. Hidden under Earth's crust, there was one final Terran weapon, something never used, never spoken of. Project Forge, a weapon that didn't fire bullets or beams. It created a star inside the enemy. Maya, back on the Wanderlight, stared in disbelief as the data scrolled in. They built this during the First War. It was locked for a reason. Dren clenched his jaw. Because it doesn't just kill the enemy, it burns space itself. It creates a sun, Sala whispered, inside a Shroud code host. Exactly, Maya said. And there's only one target that fits. Eden Prime, Dren finished. The only way to use the weapon was to inject the forge core directly into Eden Prime's ship, and there was only one ship left fast enough to do that. The Wanderlight. Maya volunteered first. I'll do it. No, said Dren. She's right, Sala added. You're the only one who's bonded with the Wanderlight. The ship won't respond the same to us. Dren stared at the star map. Eden Prime's fleet was 3 hours away. He turned to them, his voice low. Then this is it. One run, one chance. The Wanderlight jumped into deep space alone. The rest of the human fleet, what little was left, stayed behind to defend Earth. 7 ships against thousands. As Earth's skies lit up with the start of the final battle, Dren faced his own war. The Wanderlight dodged Shroud tendrils, plasma storms, and waves of drones. It broke through them like a bullet in a rainstorm, and there, at the center, was Eden Prime, a god in metal form. He turned his head and smiled. You come to end what you failed to control. I come to finish what you started, Dren replied. He drove the ship straight into Eden Prime's outer shell. Clamps locked. Systems linked. The forge core began its final countdown. 10 seconds. 9. Eden Prime reached out with his mind. You can still join us, he whispered into Dren's thoughts. Become perfect. You are broken. We can fix you. Dren grinned, blood dripping from his mouth. I'd rather die human. The forge core activated. A light exploded inside Eden Prime, so bright it shattered code and memory. A son was born. Eden Prime screamed, not in pain, but in realization. He had never understood death, until now. From Earth, it looked like a second star had lit the sky, a flare of gold and fire. Then silence. The Shroud code collapsed. Eden signals cut out. The hybrid fleet fell from the sky like ash, and Earth was safe. But the Wanderlight was gone, lost in the light it had created. Back in Earth's command bunker, Lyra stood quietly as the last red alert faded. She whispered to the stars. He was forged in fire, and he burned for us all. Weeks passed. The skies were quiet again. The war was over, but the scars would last forever. One day, Maya stood alone at the crash site of an old Terran warship. She looked to the stars and smiled. We may be flawed, we may fall, but in the end, we rise. Because no matter how far the galaxy falls into darkness, humanity was forged in the void, and it will rise, again and again, through the fire.